Hello and welcome back to Screening Room. The day is February 28th, 2017, but I guess that all depends on what timeline you're looking at. It's all relative because today we're bringing you the best movies that come at you with a time travel theme. We've gotten our DeLoreans, we've gotten our telephone booths, we've scoured the time from 0 BC to the end of the earth. We've got the best movies for you that talk about time. We're coming at you with Screening Room. My name is Peter Lenz. I'm sitting here with Michael Cornelli and Deontay, and we're going to have a great show for you. We'll be back. Welcome back. Like I said, we are currently in 2017. We haven't traveled too far away from me. We're in our present time zones. Donald Trump is still president. I think so. Is this that timeline? Donald Trump's still president, guys?
We're still on that.
I believe so. So how are you guys doing today? Yeah, Mike, Deontay, how are you feeling?
Pretty good.
Are you excited to talk about some time travel movies?
I am ecstatic to talk about some time travel.
Are you exhausted from our journeys through time?
Just a tad.
Yes.
Just a tad?
Just getting back 30 minutes ago.
I mean, yeah, I'm glad that we all managed to figure out our actual time.
Definitely.
Like time travel methods, like you found the telephone booth, you found an actual DeLorean.
Yeah.
I managed to spill Chernobyl on a hot tub and travel through time, so that was pretty great. So, like I said, today we're going to be talking about a lot of time travel flicks. I've got my own personal favorites, and they've got their own, but we'll let you know. We'll let you know what we're talking about in a bit. But first, here's mine. My film that I chose was Hot Tub Time Machine. It's a pretty great flick. It's a classic comedy film, in my personal opinion. The plot comes at you. It's your classic tale about three middle-aged guys questionably going through some midlife crisis. We've got Adam, Nick, and Lou, played by John Cusack, Craig Robinson, and Rob Corddry. A classic triple combination. And it's a very funny group. Now, the plot comes at you with Lou. He's going through a pretty tough time in his middle age, and he's driving home a little bit intoxicated one night in his car. He gets to his garage, and he parks it, closes the door, and he decides to leave the car running while he's listening to a song. And fortunately, he wakes up in the morning time, and he wakes up in the hospital. He did not perish, no matter what the thoughts were going through his head. He woke up with a new lease on life. He had his best friends, Adam and Nick, by his side, and he said, you know what? Let's go to Kodiak Valley. Let's live our life like we used to in 1986, and that's what they did. They left that hospital and they went on a great wild weekend with Adam's actual step-brother that he was with his recently divorced wife. So that's the plot of the movie, and when they were there, they had a little bit of fun and they hopped in a hot tub, and when they left the hot tub the next day, the life was a little bit different. Let's check out how that was different with this trailer of Hot Tub Time Machine.
These four friends started partying in 2010 and woke up in 1986.
It must be some kind of hot tub time machine.
Is there some kind of retro thing going on this weekend?
Land Comas. I'm sure there's a good explanation for all this. Jerry girl!
I have a question.
What color is Michael Jackson?
Black?
This March.
Buena Fest 86! We were here! What if we run into ourselves?
We're not gonna run into ourselves. We are ourselves.
You look like Kid and Play.
That's actually two people.
They have one weekend in the 80s.
I hate this decade! How am I supposed to get a job?
To rewrite their future.
We gotta do exactly what we did 20 years ago.
Like you step on a bug and the internet's never invented.
Right.
Oh, then you have to talk to girls with your mouth.
Watch out here.
With John Cusack.
You're breaking up with me?
Do you know what happens to you? You get fat.
Oh!
Rob Corddry.
Hey, suckers!
You're getting so lucky.
I'm from the future.
Craig Robinson.
My wife, she cheated on me. I found an email.
Hey, what's an email?
It's not the point.
Clark Duke.
This didn't happen. We can't do this. Yes, we can. We're gonna make like Hitler president or something. We can't do this.
And Chevy Chase.
Are you the mystical time travel guide guy?
You put your hands on me, young lady.
Hot Tub Time Machine.
Let's get this party started.
Mom?
Who's the geek?
He's your son.
Become a Hot Tub Time Machine fan on Facebook.
And there we had it, Hot Tub Time Machine. If you've already seen the flick, if you have never seen the flick, either one, I'm sure that you had a couple chuckles during that trailer, some parts that are very memorable. Again, like, it was one of my favorite comedy films that I've ever seen. Time travel is a very interesting genre. It can get very convoluted and complicated, but they did a really good job with it. They didn't take themselves too seriously, but they also poked a little fun at it. You saw in the one scene with Craig Robinson looking at the camera when he says "Hot Tub Time Machine," and so it's a lighthearted comedy, so they don't take it too serious. And speaking of Craig Robinson, the cast was just phenomenal, I thought. John Cusack in his role, you think that he's going to play just a normal fuddy-duddy John Cusack role, but then he starts to, you can tell he wanted to feel like he actually was a teenager, like he was in 1986. And again, Craig Robinson can make anyone look hilarious next to him, where he's just funny in that big red onesie bathrobe. And so another great thing that I thought they did pretty well with Hot Tub Time Machine was the time travel theory that they did. They took it very lighthearted. They didn't make it too serious, but it was very unique. How they took it was, after they went in the hot tub, they woke up and they were actually reliving their experience from when they were young. So actually, it was not too convoluted. They could have gotten in there was consequences. It wasn't quite like some of the other films that we're going to talk about, but it was a pretty unique idea. So that's Hot Tub Time Machine. How'd you guys feel about it? How'd you guys feel about the film?
I really liked the movie. It was definitely funny.
Definitely
but
funny.
The way they came up with the idea of the time travel was really cool, because it also showed that maybe the time that they were in wasn't as like rose-colored as they like to think it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I liked what you were saying, because it was a pretty interesting way that they decided to make them time travel.
Yeah, definitely.
That hot tub, and then they got to relive the experience. That also relates to the sequel, the Hot Tub Time Machine 2. They did well enough to grant themselves a sequel, and they play with that idea a little bit. How'd you feel about it, though?
It was really funny to me. I thought there was a lot of like shadiness between all the characters, which was really funny. The ones you really catch, but then you really don't catch, so you have to think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a good movie. It kind of reminded me of what was the movie with that? Grown Ups, a little bit, just a tad. It's like these friends coming together, having a good time. Just different plot, kind of.
Yeah. Same kind of style of comedy.
Yeah, well, just like Grown Ups, it's also a pretty cute movie. Not as cute as these pets that we're about to see with Perfect Pets.
Definitely.
We'll be right back after this.
Hi, I'm Florence. I'm a sweet, affectionate 1-year-old looking for a family to love.
Hi, I'm Bean. I'm a 7-month-old German Shepherd Pit Bull mix with lots of energy, so I'll need tons of exercise.
Hey, I'm Jimbo. I'm a little cuddly guy, and I really love playing with my toy. I'm gonna get you.
Hi, I'm Luna, a loving 1-year-old pit bull who will need lots of training and attention from my family.
To find out more about adoption for these pets or others, contact the Cooley Region Humane Society at 781-4014.
Once again, the number for the Cooley Region Humane Society is 608-781-4014. And welcome back to Screening Room. The next movie we're going to cover is a favorite for pretty much everybody. Your parents probably played it for you when you were young, and it probably became a staple of your childhood. I'm talking, of course, of Back to the Future Part 2. Back to the Future Part 2 is the quintessential 80s movie, and it continues the adventure of Marty McFly and Doc Brown. As for them, they go into the future, or well, for them at least, to the year 2015. There they meet many of the people they knew in the past, and what follows is an adventure that will decide the past and the future. Let's take a look at the trailer.
Do you remember the future?
You've got to come back with me. Where? Back to the future.
Are we back?
We're back.
What do you mean we're in the future?
October 21st, 2015.
Marty, we're going to be able to see our wedding.
Wow. The future. I gotta check this out, Doc.
Look what happened to your son.
Oh, he's a complete wimp.
Don't talk to anyone.
You've been looking, Bob! Hey, look!
Don't touch anything. I need to borrow your hoverboard. And try not to look at anything. I didn't invent the time machine to win at gambling. I can't lose. I invented a time machine to travel through time.
Hey, Doc, I'm all for that. What's wrong with making a few bucks on the side?
Now, the time continuum has been disrupted, creating an alternate 1985.
There have been a few changes.
It's like we're in hell or something.
No, it's Hill Valley, although I can't imagine hell being much worse.
But they'll all be back.
Eat less, slackers!
Biff?
Hello? Hello, anybody home?
Well, it can't be you. You're so big.
Michael J. Fox. Christopher Lloyd. Michael J. Fox.
More like a couple of teenagers, you know?
And Michael J. Fox.
Mom, is that you?
Steven Spielberg presents a Robert Zemeckis film, Back to the Future.
Gotta get back in time.
Part 2. Coming November 22nd to theaters everywhere.
And welcome back to Screening Room. I don't know about all of you, but Back to the Future to me was one of the best movies I ever saw growing up. It's one of those movies that, I would always pop in when I was feeling bored or whenever my parents felt like reliving the 80s. But through it all, the story is amazing. Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox make two lovable characters that you just can't help but root for. And it really culminates in a story that is good for the whole family. What'd you guys think?
I agree with what you were saying about what you remember when you were a little kid, because I distinctly remember being young and wanting that to be right now. The hoverboards and the shark that came out you at 3D, the flying cars, all of it. I remember being a little kid, and it's so vivid in my head.
I know. And it's kind of disappointing that we got to the year 2015 and none of that was really a thing.
We got the hoverboard.
The self-lacing Nikes were a thing.
Those were a thing. And the actual hoverboards, there was a video that came out. It's not something that you could go out and buy, but they did make a real-life hoverboard that actually floated. It didn't touch the ground. It looked like a skateboard. They took it to a skate park. So 2015 isn't as far behind as we think it was.
It's not as far behind, but it's still a long way to go before we're going out and buying our own personal hoverboards.
You never know. You never know. Elon Musk is out there. He's making things every day.
He's making
sending 2 different people to space, and that is pretty great. But so yeah, another thing that I really liked about Back to the Future was the fact that they had Michael Fox play so many different roles.
So many characters.
I feel like that's something that has became very popular since that happened. That's like Adam Sandler does it a lot. A lot of other characters will do that. But I mean, it was one of the first times that I saw it, and I also specifically remember being very surprised when you got to see him on screen at the same time. Mm-hmm. How did they do that?
How did they do that?
How did they do that?
How does he? Yeah.
How does he play like all the characters?
All the characters at the same time.
You see in the trailer where
it seems kind of stressful.
Oh, right.
A lot of stressful. Like how many?
We have to think a lot of times he's sitting there just talking to the air, imagining himself as that.
True.
It's or that awkward moment where you're on a green screen and you have one of the deleted scenes leak out and you're completely talking to yourself alone in a room, but you have to imagine that there's 13 people in front of you. That's the times where I wouldn't be able to be an actor.
I could not do that. I would trip up so bad.
Tidbit self-conscious. I also thought it was kind of funny when you looked at the contrast in the movie where when they went to 2015 and it was all clean and progressive and that sort of thing, and they went back to 1985. Biff was kind of the overlord, and everything was Biffland. And now, if you look in real life, the later time in the future, you have Biffland, only it's Trumpland. And then you look at how times used to be, where you go to a nice park and you go and hang out with your kids and skateboard rides and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting. I think the times have flipped a little bit what they thought the future was going to be.
Definitely
what they envisioned is not what has turned out.
No. But
not even close. Kind of. Not even close.
But that's what's funny about time travel, and that's why we're talking about time travel flicks with you guys today, because there's a lot of really fun ways that you can look at what's going to happen, different ways that the past could influence the future. I know that's one of the themes that were common in both of our movies, that what happens in the past can greatly influence the future, which I think is a great thing to think about, where there's all those the butterfly effect. That was one big theme in Hot Tub Time Machine, where one little thing can happen and then all of a sudden before you know it, you're your own grandpa and you have 12 legs and you're walking around with two eyes.
Yeah, all of a sudden Marty McFly figures out that Biff is his dad, and it just goes off the rails for him there.
Yeah. And that's one thing with time travel is you're guaranteed to probably have some pretty interesting realizations in your life. So yeah, that's all we got for Back to the Future 2. But our UWO Comm Club has a couple of messages for you to take a break with our film talk.
In futuristic city 2688, humanity exists as a utopian society due to the inspiration of the music and the wisdom of the two great bros, Bill and Ted, played by Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves. To save the futuristic utopian society, the two slacker high school students have to pass their final oral history project with flying colors, or they will flunk history, and Ted will be forced by his father, who was the police captain, to attend military school in Alaska, ending Bill's and Ted's fledgling band, the Wild Stallions, as well as the futuristic utopian city that awaits the music and the wisdom of Bill and Ted. However, to ensure Bill and Ted actually pass their history project, Rufus, who was played by George Carlin, is tasked by the utopian leaders to time travel to San Dimas, California in 1988, using the time machine disguised as a telephone booth to help and travel throughout time with Bill and Ted to gather and to bring the world's most historical figures to the History Project. What better way to learn history than to have history at your fingertips and travel anywhere and any time in history? Will Bill and Ted be able to successfully time travel so they can pass their history project to save the utopian society and Ted from going to Alaska for military academy? Be sure to watch Bill and Ted's excellent adventure to find out. Now, let's start by playing the trailer of Bill and Ted's excellent adventure.
Bill, Ted, this is really quite simple. Unless you get an A+ on your final oral report tomorrow, I have no choice but to flunk the both of you.
Two epic airheads.
Who was Joan of Arc?
Noah's wife? We are in danger of flunking most heinously tomorrow, Ted. One time-traveling telephone booth.
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
I'm here to help you with your history report.
What?
That book will give you the number of any place you want to go.
Let's reach out and touch someone. Who knew history?
2 beers, please.
Could be such an excellent adventure.
Who's he? Billy the Kid.
Don't worry, I'll bring you back here as soon as you talk at our report.
Socrates.
Philosophize with him.
All we are is dust in the wind, dude.
We are in most excellent shape for our report.
Excuse me, do you know where there are any personages of historical significance around here? How's it going, royal ugly dudes?
Put them in the iron meat.
Excellent!
Execute them.
Bogus.
Keanu Reeves.
Those are historical babes.
Alex Winter.
It's a history report, not a babe report.
Napoleon.
Ziggy Biggy.
Genghis Khan. Sigmund Freud.
How's it going, fruit dude?
Socrates. And Abraham Lincoln.
Audio, dude! If you guys are really us, what number are we thinking of? 69, dudes!
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Now, when I first saw this movie, I was pretty skeptical, just because, you know, it was made in the 90s, early 90s, and I just recently saw it. However, I would have to say that this was probably one of the best movies I've seen from the 90s. It was pretty funny. I definitely would not expect it. What did you guys think of the movie?
I'd agree that it makes my top 5 list of 90s movies.
Definitely.
One of my favorite parts about 90s movies is getting to see the actors that kind of stood the test of time, example of being Keanu Reeves, but seeing roles when he was very young. I think that's so interesting to see him in roles like John Wick and stuff now, where he's so straight-faced.
Yeah, when I see him as John Wick now, I'm like, I still have the picture of him from Bill and Ted, where he's just so funny and he's so loose, and then in John Wick he's so serious and he's going out and just trying to kill everybody.
Yeah, because he made his mark and his role as Neo, where everyone knew him as Neo for the next couple movies. So he had that nice stoic role going for him, but it's really interesting to see him in a role like that. Or another example is Leonardo DiCaprio when he played Gilbert in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and that's another interesting one because it's so uncharacteristic of his roles now. But let's get back on track to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I thought another really cool thing is history in all the movies. You get to see so many new acts. You get to learn something too.
Yeah. It's probably not completely accurate, but it's nice to at least introduce people. It's nice to at least introduce people to historic.
So great. See, and that's the thing, because I know that there's at least a couple, like Socrates and I think Freud. That was one of the first times that I didn't remember who they were actually, but that's true. When I learned about them eventually, I was kind of like, oh, that kind of rings a bell. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Don't let your mom ever tell you that you don't learn anything watching TV.
No, exactly.
You learn something.
Now, one thing I would say about this movie is that they have a great bromance. It's kind of an inspiring bromance. They don't get mad at each other. Like, they're put in these like crazy situations. They don't get mad at each other. They don't do anything. They just do what they have to do, and they just successfully time travel.
Completely inseparable.
Super inseparable.
Yeah. Even afterwards, when they get the babes, they all become the band.
They all become
That is true. They're like one big commune, just one big happy family. I can't imagine them ever getting mad at each other.
No, I couldn't. No, it'd be awkward.
The original bromance, and that's something that it carries on in the second film too.
Definitely, the second film, the sequel.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when their evil twins come back their evil robot twins come back to get rid of them because they don't want the utopia to happen.
Yeah.
That is one thing that bodes well for futuristic era and time travel films, is that each one of our films has had a sequel. Not every film gets a sequel to it.
That is very true, actually.
Yeah.
Not every,
And so apparently time travel. And so I think that we pick some of the best time travel films because a lot of films try to do the time travel thing, but it's just such a complicated theory, you know?
You really need a lot of contingency to make sure that everything lines up because, it's a movie, so people are going to come back and just nitpick everything afterwards because they're like, oh, you didn't have this right or you didn't have that right.
And then I also think it's pretty interesting to look at Back to the Future, where it's known as one of the best time travel movies of all time, but I also think that it has a lot of issues with it. Where for one, even the first time that I ever saw this, maybe not the first time because I was pretty young, but pretty early on when I saw it, I always thought it was really interesting and kind of stupid that he would fade out when he was close to wiping himself out of existence. What? How does that make sense?
Yeah, because if you change the time period, if you change like the timeline, he should just disappear right there. Like it's just over now. You screwed up.
Exactly. No, we're not talking about time travel movies. There's a lot of good ones that we picked, but there's also a ton of other time travel movies. One of my personal favorites and just personal favorite movies of all time is Donnie Darko. Have you guys seen Donnie Darko?
No.
I highly recommend it. And all you guys out there in TV land, you should watch Donnie Darko. It is an early film of Jake Gyllenhaal, another one of the big actors these days, but his early role was there with Jake Gyllenhaal. Again, time travel film, early movie. That must be a formula for greatness. But so basically Donnie Darko begins, and it's with Jake Gyllenhaal. He's kind of a troubled young kid, and he ends up kind of avoiding death very, very slimly because he was following this gigantic rabbit creature. And he avoids death because he was following this creature. And then the film kind of takes off from there, and it goes on all the different experiences because he cheated death. So that is where the time travel loop begins. But that's all I'll tell you because I can't give you too much else. It'll spoil the film. What other time travel related films have you guys seen?
I gotta say I really like Looper. If you guys have ever seen Looper with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh yeah.
Just amazing how they, in their timeline, it's like time travel has been criminalized because they realize how much damage it can do, and because of that, it turns into only the mafia using it, only the hitmen using it, and they just use it to send basically back their hit targets back to their future selves, or no, their past selves, to kill them, and then. Well, how they end that entire contract is kind of sad too, though.
but you have to check that one out yourself to see how they end that one.
No spoilers here.
How about you, Dan?
I'm definitely gonna have to go with the sequel of Bill and Ted. The Bill and Ted.
The Bogus Journey.
Adventure. Yeah, Bogus Journey, Bogus Adventure. It was pretty funny. It's just pretty much, just some madman from outer space doesn't want the utopian society to happen, so he sends in these robot clones as Ted and Billy just to screw them up and make them fail so that they don't pass that history project.
they dabble with time a lot in that series.
How their first adventure with time travel came back to haunt them a little bit in the second movie, where people are now trying to stop what they already fixed.
Another really great time travel movies is 12 Monkeys. Have you guys seen 12 Monkeys? Bruce Willis, Brad Pitt.
Saw the trailer, never saw it.
That one is pretty good as well. Again, it's one of those early films. A lot of those big time travel ones are the early films of some of those bigger actors. But basically, it starts off with Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt, and Brad Pitt is in an insane asylum, and he sort of gets picked to be a part of this future project where he goes and he gets picked to go into the future and learn about this plague that is going to be happening, and he's going to try to go back and save the time. But it's kind of an interesting one because it's one of those things where you never know. You see crazy the entire time. Is the movie actually about time travel? But I guess, again, you'll have to watch it to find out. It's another one of those great time travel flicks that it does the theory well. It doesn't get too convoluted. It doesn't get too complicated.
Yeah. I know before the show you were talking about Groundhog Day, where they keep living the day over and over again. But I was thinking of another one, Edge of Tomorrow, where it's Brad Pitt, and they're going on this military excursion against these aliens on this beach, and each time he dies, he lives the day over and over again. But exactly how that happens, I'll leave that to you. It's very needed to the story.
Yeah. Speaking of complicated time travel films, that's kind of a perfect one.
Yeah.
But again, it's very unique. They take a lot of time and thought process to really make sure that it's hard to poke holes in their plot. And I guess if you really look at it, Edge of the Tomorrow, they do get the plot line sewed shut. It's kind of hard to poke holes, regardless of how convoluted it is. But like you were talking about Groundhog Day, that is one of the very, very first time travel films that I think really got a lot of notoriety that wasn't really considered a sci-fi film. But hey, again, you'll have to go check out all those time travel films. But while you're watching all those films, there's a lot of new films for you to check out. Speaking of some of those new films that we have in theater, there's some really good ones, and you should check these out. Speaking of that, we got the Lego Batman movie. That one is pretty great. Lego Batman is quite spunky. He has a very, very big personality for such a little character. Fist Fight, we've got The Great Wall. It's, again, if you like a little bit of the historical themes, you can check out The Great Wall. Hidden Figures, that's another one of those big popular ones out there. Might have to come and catch some of those Oscars for next season that comes around. And then Split. And Split is my personal favorite movie that we have in theaters. Save the best for last. I highly recommend that you go to check Split out. But we've got more to come for you. And then also, we have a lot more coming for you even sooner than you'd think. We've got The Shack. We've got Before I Fall. We've got a movie called As You Are. That's a big one. And also coming soon to theaters, it is Contemporary Color. So some big ones to look forward to.
Coming up on DVD, we got some things headed straight to where you can watch them at home. We got Trolls, The Eagle Huntress, Loving, and Almost Christmas.
Alrighty, so coming at the Rivoli, we got The Manchester by the Sea, Lion, Fantastic Beasts, and Moana, which I heard was really good, Moana.
I still need to see Fantastic Beasts.
And also what's happening at the U is that March 3rd at 7 p.m. we have Sing showing. March 9th at 9:30 p.m. we have The Accountant. March 4th at 2 p.m. we have Sing again. March 4th as well at 5 p.m. we have The Accountant, which follows at 8 p.m. on March 4th as well, The Accountant again. So there's a few showings of The Accountant.
A lot of love for The Accountant.
Maybe,
a lot of love for Tom Cruise.
We love math over here at UW La Crosse. We've been getting really good use of that movie theater over at the U. Have you guys checked out any of the movies at the U?
I have not yet, but I've heard a lot of people talking a lot of good things about the theater and that they really like it being there being a dedicated theater on campus now.
I'm actually a Vanguard, so I give campus tours to some aspiring students and their families, and every time I've walked in that theater, they're very surprised, because what I enjoy about it is that it really gives you the feel to a movie theater. It got those red curtains, got the velvet on the walls, and it really makes you want to sit there, eat some popcorn, and watch some movies. But hey, one of those things that you should do when you're watching movies is check out some of these feature films that we've been seeing. But until next time, we've got a new category for you coming up in a couple weeks. But I'm Peter Lenz.
I'm Michael Cornelli.
I'm Deontay Vance.
Signing off for Screening Room. We'll be back.